Everyone's saying Zombies is a saving grace of Black Ops 7. But let's be real, it's not saving anything. This isn't innovation, it's nostalgia dressed up as content. It proves Treyarch has no creativity left. Call of Duty fans keep coping that Zombies will carry Black Ops 7, but if your game needs a decade-old map remake to feel alive, the franchise is already dead. Farm and Transit remakes aren't saving Black Ops 7. They're exposing just how lazy the writing and the design has become. They're recycling old maps, old characters, and calling it fan service. In reality, it's just a band-aid on a dead franchise. Zombies can't save this game, and the fact that people think it can is exactly why Call of Duty keeps getting worse. When I first jumped into the Farm remake, I had that weird deja vu feeling you only get when the game digs deep into nostalgia. The map looks familiar, the atmosphere is familiar, the layout is familiar, but with the second you start playing, you realize it's not the same thing at all. On the surface it's Farm, one of the core locations from Black Ops 2's Transit mode, but the soul of the map feels hollow. It's not because of the graphics, and it's not even because the layout has changed much, it's because thematically, Farm doesn't belong in this new era of zombies. In Black Ops 2, Farm worked because of where the story was at the time. Richtofen had blown up the Earth at the end of Moon, leaving the planet scorched, poisoned, and barely habitable. You played as characters who would realistically exist in the scenario. Misty was a farm girl who survived the collapse of society. Marlton was the socially awkward nerd who somehow managed to live through the chaos. Russman was the wandering old man, and Samuel, who literally ate zombies to survive, was haunted by Richtofen's voice in his head. These characters made sense in the world they were in. Their personalities, their struggles, their quirks, they all fit with the tone of a ruined Earth after everything went wrong. Compare that to now. Back in Black Ops 2, Farm wasn't even part of the main story. It was a survival submap where you played as the CDC and CIA agents. No Misty, no Marlton, no Russman, nor Samuel. The main crew was reserved for Transit, where the narrative actually unfolded, and yet without them, Farm still felt thematically grounded. The setting matched the tone of a scorched earth, the silence, the isolation, the desperation. It all worked. Now in Black Ops 7, the main crew is back in the Transit remake, but Farm survival has been stripped down even further. You're not playing as survivors or remnants of a ruined world. You're just dropped in as a generic operator, some random soldier, some random specialist. No connection to Farm, no connection to each other, no connection to the larger story. It's not even a spiritual successor, it's a placeholder. Operators aren't characters, they're monetizable skins with voice lines. They exist to be swapped, sold, and forgotten. It doesn't matter if Treyarch brought back the original crew elsewhere, because when they did, at least those characters had history and weight. Now we're left with avatars that feel more like UI elements than the cast. Playing Farm in this version feels like booting up a soulless simulation, one that remembers the layout but forgot the meaning. What makes this worse is that the mechanics don't even tie into the map design. Farm was brought back in this beta with a supposed wall jump mechanic, but the layout doesn't utilize it at all. You don't get cool routes or vertical escape options. You don't see them reimagining how traversal could evolve in a classic map. Instead, it feels like a half-baked gimmick that they tossed in just to justify calling it new. They wanted to modernize Farm, they could have designed areas that actually tested movement. Think about how Black Ops 3 integrated wall running into custom built maps with specific sections designed for them. Farm in this version doesn't even bother, it's proof the mechanic was never thoughtfully implemented. And yet, despite all of that, I can't say they didn't try to at least pay homage to the original. The overall layout is kept close enough that if you played Farm back in Black Ops 2, you'll instantly recognize it. The barn, the house, the open field, it's all structurally familiar. The Pack-a-Punch machine is placed where the double tap perk used to be. The Wonderfizz now sits in the old jug corner. These aren't one-to-one recreations, but they're deliberate placements, clever nods to show that someone at Treyarch still remembers the original blueprint. In that sense, there's more respect for the map's legacy, and it does retain the same replay value. And Farm in Black Ops 2 was never about complexity, it was about being small, straightforward, and endlessly replayable. And in that way, this remake does capture some of the spirit, but it's a ghost of that spirit, not the full soul. But here's where the problem lies. This feels like another nostalgia crutch. Instead of creating new memorable experiences, they're recycling old maps. Transit is already on the way, and it's going to be the exact same story. People will hype it up, they'll play it, they'll post clips online, and then the novelty will fade, and we'll realize it's just another rehash. Treyarch knows nostalgia sells, and instead of pushing the mode forward, they're leaning on it like a safety net. The writing is a big part of why this hurts so much. Back in the day, Zombies had a sense of mystery and experimentation. The story wasn't perfect, but it had ambition. There were hidden radios, cryptic messages, and big narrative swings like blowing up the moon or rewriting entire timelines. Now the writing feels lazy, uninspired, and frankly boring. They've stripped out the weirdness, the experimentation, the risk-taking, and what's left is a corporate product. At least there's one weird little silver lining. At least Richtofen is gay again. It's funny how, out of everything, that's one of the only bold choices they're still willing to make. And honestly, it highlights the problem. This mode used to thrive on bold choices, on doing other things games wouldn't dare to do. Now we get nostalgia maps, faceless operators, and half-baked mechanics. While Farm in this new Zombies experience isn't a total disaster, it has nostalgia, it has respect for its legacy, it has the replay value, but it's also proof how far this series has fallen. Thematically, it doesn't fit. Mechanically, it doesn't innovate. Narratively, it doesn't matter. It's Farm, but it's only Farm in name only. And with Transit coming back too, I can't help but feel like the future of Zombies is going to keep recycling the past instead of building something new. When I look back at Black Ops 2, I remember a time when even the smaller maps like Farm had meaning. They weren't just there to pad the playlist. They were connected to the story, to the world, to the characters. They gave us a reason to care. This new Farm, on the other hand, feels like an imitation. And maybe that's the biggest tragedy of all, because nostalgia can only carry you so far before you realize you're playing a hollow copy of something that used to mean so much more. At the end of the day, Black Ops 7 Zombies isn't saving anything. It's not a return to glory days. It's a cheap remix of old content. Sure, Farm plays fine, and Transit will get people hyped for about a week, but that's not innovation, that's recycling. Richtofen is cracking jokes again. Doesn't change the fact that the writing is hollow, the maps are lazy remakes, and the so-called new mechanics won't meaningfully add to the gameplay. Advanced Warfare Zombies was bad, but at least it tried to carve out an identity. Black Ops 7 Zombies is just a nostalgia cosplay. It's a safety net for a franchise that's out of ideas, and if Call of Duty's best mode is a rehash of 2012 content, then it's not just Black Ops 7 that's dead, it's the entire future of the series. Zombies can't save Call of Duty anymore, and the fact that people are still pretending it can is exactly why this franchise keeps sinking further every year. If you made it this far, like the video if you liked it, give it a dislike if you didn't. If you want more breakdowns that cut through the noise and actually say what everyone's thinking, hit that subscribe button.